viva hey.
Hey. He says, hey. Oh, jeez. Hey. All right. Sorry about the delay. I prefer not to tell you what I'm drinking. Only because you really don't want to know. I had an interesting day. I had somebody insult me. Very condescending. And I thought whether or not I should take that. And I said I shouldn't take this. And then I said, well, isn't it humility to accept it? I had some woman speaking down to me. On a job. She's a designer. And one of my workers made a mistake. I swore to it. And she's like, speaking down to me. I said, hey, I made a mistake. You're just going to have to forgive it. She goes, I'm trying. I said, try harder. Bye. That wasn't it. There was more to it. So I had a really hard day. And then I called one of my installers and I said, hey, do you want to install tomorrow? He says, yeah. Okay. Where is it? I said, it's at so-and-so. He said, oh, where is that? I said, look it up. Look it up on Google. It's in Florida. Like, I don't know how to answer that, you know. So he says, oh. He said, do I need a ladder? Now, for 99% of wallpaper installations, you need a ladder. Very rarely. Maybe if you're on a boat, you don't need one. And that happens 1 out of 100. I said, do you need a ladder? Did you just ask me if, yeah. Do I need a ladder? I said, well, you bought one. You have a ladder, right? Yeah. I said, okay. He said, well, I lost the ladder. I said, now, in order that you really appreciate this guy has drama every phone call. So I try to limit the context of the conversation to just one thing or two. But he tries to bring. I said, "Oh no, we're not talking. We're only talking about this." I said, "How did you lose your ladder?" Oh, he says, "Everything is. Oh, I took a nap." He says, "I told you I'm trying to find an apartment, and I really, need to look for an apartment, and I'm losing money, driving all over the place, and I can't keep paying for ladders." I said, "How did you lose your ladder?" Oh, I I took a nap at the truck stop. You know. Yeah. And so my car is crowded with laundry. I'm looking for an apartment. I needed to nap. So I opened the cot in my car, and the ladder was in the way. So I took the ladder and I put it near the dumpster. I didn't think anyone would see it. And I lost it. Now, I'm a retired cop. I said, "You didn't lose your ladder." I said, "Why didn't you put it back in your car?" He said, "It was gone." I said, "So somebody stole your ladder?" Yeah. I said, "That's not a loss of property. That's a theft of property." Oh. I said, you can have off tomorrow." "Yeah, well, I'm trying." This guy's getting top dollar. I said, "You know what? I dealt with too much stuff today to respond to this." I said, "Have a good night." "Okay." I said, "Wait a second. You have money on you. That's mine." "Oh, I have to bring that to you." I said, "Yeah. Get it to me before you lose your car." Oh. Let me tell you something. I don't know about you, but I really believe that they're giving out medication too easily. I really believe that. I think it's messing people up. What do you think of it? I think it's messing with people. I mean, can you believe it? Did you ever get an e-check? I got an e-check today. Oh. So. I thought so. Anyway. I mean, you know what though? I understand that God gives us intelligent people, business people, ignorant people, disabled people, so I really can't complain. But I am amazed at the lack of competence displayed by a large number of adults. Actually amazed by it. Oh. I feel like if this guy were getting robbed, he'd say, "Give me money." The guy would say, "Give me money." I have a wallet in my car. I don't have it on me. Anyway, we are moving along with devotion to the Sacred Heart, aren't we? And we have gotten to the point. One guy, yeah, can I help you? Can I help you? Yeah. I need gas. Yeah, go pump it outside. Go ahead, yeah. What's wrong with you? What do you mean? I said, are you alright? You like this? Hey, don't make fun of me, man. I thought he was making fun of me. I said, I'm sorry, I thought something was wrong. He said, yeah. I can't move my jaw. I said, alright, I'm sorry, I didn't know. He's probably nasty to somebody. Probably got punched in the mouth. I asked a black girl today if she was Polish. She said yes. I said, you're Polish? But in all fairness to her, I said, you're Polish, no? She said, no, I don't speak Polish. I said, jestem chory musza, żeby mi otować, no? She goes, no, I am not Polish. You're Polish, no? You're Polish, no? She said, no, I'm not. I said, good. Ja myślę, że ty jesteś bardzo ładna, no? She goes, no, sir, I do not speak Polish. I said, no. In Poland, yes means no, and no means yes. You're Polish? She goes, oh, yes, I'm Polish. I said, now, why is y'all lying like that? Why y'all gotta be like that? She was like, ah. Anyway, I'm going on too long. I'm sorry. I'm tired. That's the problem. I'm tired. I gotta finish in Sarasota. I had a rough week. I drove 4 times 5 is 20. I drove for 20 hours this week. That's a lot of driving. That's why I'm tired. But we're going to discuss the 6th means of acquiring a true love of Jesus Christ. And you'll remember that the first 5 means were prayer. 2nd, frequent Holy Communions. 3rd, visits to the Blessed Sacrament. Ardent love for the Blessed Virgin Mary. Let's see. Fidelity in this devotion, sticking with it, keeping it up. And then we came to number 6, a special devotion to St. Aloysius Gonzaga, okay? And so I'm making a note. The 6th means which we propose and which God has already indicated by favors granted as very suitable to obtain a tender love for our Lord Jesus Christ is devotion to St. Aloysius Gonzaga. This saint, who was of noble family, was remarkable for the innocence and sublime perfection of his life. It is certain that in heaven, the saints exert their influence on behalf of those who love and honor them on earth. Oh my God, this is awesome. And that most usually the grace which they obtain for them is the virtue in which they themselves excelled and which in a manner constituted their character. The following words that were written by St. Aloysius with his own hand bear out this statement. Quote, as men on earth are naturally inclined to render service to those who have the same tastes as themselves, in the same way the saints in heaven employ with pleasure their influence with God in favor of those who have a particular attraction for this same virtue and who work efficaciously to acquire it. Do you need any further convincing? Now, since the devotion to the Sacred Heart of Jesus in the exercise of the interior life and of constant union with God was the distinctive mark of the character of St. Aloysius Gonzaga, we may be sure that he will interest himself in a particular manner in favor of those who have this devotion at heart. We may be sure that he will interest himself in a particular manner in favor of those who have this devotion at heart. Several people have already been fortunate in experiencing the powerful effects of his intercession in this respect. It might be said that one could not be truly devoted to him without feeling a tender love for Jesus Christ. Devotion to him invariably inspires a high esteem and love for the interior life. There are few saints that could be more universally proposed to all classes of people as a model for arriving easily at high and solid virtue in the exercise of the common life. He died at 23. I actually read about him. He had a urinary tract infection. And he never looked at a lady in the face. If we were to judge by his exterior actions, we should find nothing very extraordinary in his life. For he died very young. He never occupied any high position. He was never distinguished for any remarkable achievements, but rather always took extreme care to remain hidden. You know, I really wish I could do this. I fight with people every day. Almost every day. And I tell you honestly, I want to run from it all. You know what happened to me today? I kind of got, I don't want to use the crude word that explains this perfectly. I was slighted last year by two commercial entities, who were holding a combined $9,000 from me. And one of them was a legitimate reason. The other one was not. And I completely changed the manner in which I do business with people. I look at everybody as a potential adversary. Every person with whom I do business loves you, and then there's the business side of it where you have to do for them what they're paying you to do, and that causes friction because they may have higher expectations than your abilities or higher expectations than what you've rendered, whatever. And so everybody is a potential adversary, and therefore a potential enemy as well. And why was I telling you this? So I find myself arguing with people unnecessarily, you know. And what's it all for? You know? The point, I forgot the point. I find myself arguing with people, right? And it seems that there's such a disgust for human nature that you really feel like you can't stand people. And you just try to, you try to do the right thing. I had a woman suggest to me today that I did something with very expensive wallpaper. My guy falsely reported to me, mistakenly reported to me that we didn't have enough wallpaper. So I told the designer, we don't have enough. You don't have enough. She says, Spencer, where is the rest of the wallpaper? I said, we used it. She said, you ordered X amount. They said you picked it up. I said, are you saying I stole wallpaper? She said, where is it? Now, before I left home today, I knelt down in front of the Sacred Heart and I said, Jesus, today I'm going to be recollected. I'm going to recall all of my intention. I did my meditation in the morning, and by midday I was in rare form. And I got to tell you that I felt like I blew it. I blew it over. I had to tell this woman off. I had to tell her, who do you think you're talking to? And so I feel that arguing with people is a form of, it's just a very negative thing, you know. And you get angry, you think uncharitably about them, because you had to hear what I was dealing with. And then you feel like, you know, this is not conducive to the spiritual life. And so you start to really hate the way people are. And I gotta be honest with you, I have come to the conclusion that heaven is a beautiful place, much better than this rotten earth. And while we're here, we're in danger of losing our souls. We are. We are in danger of becoming attached to creatures, loving them more than God. I mean, these are the temptations out there. So St. Aloysius Gonzaga, he was elevated to a sublime degree of glory. And it must have been the recompense of great merit, and this great merit must have been the fruit of his extreme purity of heart, of his practice of the interior life, and of the continual presence of God, of his ardent, tender love for Jesus Christ, and finally of his consummate perfection, which he acquired in a few years by the great love and tender devotion which he always had for the Sacred Heart of Jesus Christ in the Blessed Sacrament. It was not without a special providence of God that this faithful servant of Jesus Christ died as he predicted and desired on the day that was destined for the feast of the Sacred Heart of Jesus, to which he had always such a great devotion. It was in this adorable heart that he must have received from his earliest years the gift of sublime contemplation. You want to practice the highest form of prayer? Sublime contemplation. Don't think you're not capable of it. I don't care if you're a housewife. Don't think that you can't do this. God will, a homeless man could practice this. Sublime contemplation and of continual tears. Tears so abundant, especially after the consecration at Mass, that his garments were moistened with them. Wow. It was in this adorable heart that he must have received from his earliest years the gift of sublime contemplation and of continual tears, tears so abundant that it wet his garments, that his garments were moistened with them. From that same source came the great tranquility of heart, which he preserved unaltered amidst all the events and occupations of his life. Finally, it was from the Sacred Heart, as the historian of his life tells us, that the Holy Ghost filled his soul with such ardent love and such sweet consolations that his face seemed all on fire, and his heart to be trying to leave its place, so violently did it beat. It was in the Sacred Heart that he united himself so intimately with God that when he was obliged for some reason to turn his attention away, his heart experienced a pain similar to that which a person feels when one of his members is dislocated. As he himself testified when he said, quote, I am forbidden to concentrate my attention on God, lest this application of my attention cause me headache, but the effort which I make not to think of God causes me more effort than the application itself. For I have made it a habit, thus it is no longer a labor for me, but sweet repose. I will, however, obey as best I can. But to form some idea of the sublime glory which he enjoys in heaven, and which may be said to be the fruit of his interior life, and of the ardent and tender love which he always had for the adorable heart of Jesus Christ, one has only to read the testimony given of it by St. Magdalene de Pazzi. The author of her life gives the following account of it. On April 14, 1600, St. Magdalene de Pazzi, being in one of those ecstasies which were customary to her, saw in paradise the glory of St. Aloysius Gonzaga. And being amazed at what appeared to her most extraordinary, she began to speak, slowly allowing an interval to elapse between her words. Quote, "Oh, how great is the glory of Aloysius, son of Ignatius! I could never have believed it if our Lord had not shown it to me. It seems to me that there can be no glory in heaven equal to that of Aloysius. I repeat it, Aloysius is a great saint. We have saints in our church, those whose relics were in the monastery church, who have not received such glory as their reward. I wish I were able to go all through the world and proclaim that Aloysius, son of Ignatius, is a great saint. I would wish to be able to tell about the glory which he enjoys, in order that God might be glorified by it. He has been elevated to this high degree of glory because he lived an interior life. Who could explain the value and advantages of the interior life? It is incomparably superior to the exterior life. While Aloysius was on earth, his eyes were always turned toward the divine word." Are you jealous? I am. I'm jealous. What else is there to live for? This world is rotten, and it's getting worse. People are dishonest. They're in love with things. They're dirty. I went into an office today. I was working in a place. Let me be discreet about this. The woman behind the counter was half hanging out of her top. 23-year-old girl. I felt like saying, the world is using you. That isn't. You think that's good? To be an object of people's dirty ideas, you know? And you know what I noticed about those types of women? They're looking at men to see if you could do a case study and watch a woman who's hanging out of her shirt, you would see a difference in the following. When men walk into the place and when women walk into the place, the woman is looking at the man for one thing, to see if he's looking at her. And then after she sees that she's the object of adoration, because that's what they want to be adored, then they look away. But initially they look. I took a sociology course in college. They called it civic inattention. No, there's something spiritual about it. You're looking into the eyes of somebody else for a reason. And but if a woman walked in, I don't think they would be as solicitous for her attention as they are for the man's attention. What a low way to be desirous to be adored. Look at me. Look at what's hanging out of my top, you know. It's dirty. It's absolutely ridiculous, but that's what we got to look at. This morning, right, I'm making a U-turn, so I go this way. I see a dirty billboard, so I look away. I turn around, I look up, I see another dirty billboard. It was back to back on US 19 in Tarpon Springs. Now, look what St. Aloysius Gonzaga can do for us. Oh, man. You want to keep silent? You want to speak to the Blessed Mother if you're alone? Just talk to her. I love you, Mother. Please remember my prayers. St. Aloysius Gonzaga, pray for me. You know what's a good thing to ask him for? For the gift of sublime contemplation. Now, I don't profess to know what that is, but I know it's a very high level of prayer. I think there are 4 levels, and that is the highest. I think it's capable of procuring miracles. Not that you want to do miracles, but I believe that's the state of prayer whereby God will do miracles through you. Of course, that would be a very terrible motive for trying to acquire that, but it's just close union with God. You got to read one of the spiritual books. I think. Let me show you something. Let me show you something. By the way, if anybody who's watching this wants this book, send me an email. It's brand new. I had a few of them. I gave one to my brother, one to my other brother. Look at this: impurity, drunkenness. The sinners return to God. Okay? Don't give it to somebody you don't think is going to read it. Don't waste it. Yeah, so send me an email, and I'll mail it to you in the United States. As long as it doesn't... I don't know what it's like mailing outside of the USA. I suppose if it doesn't cost me more than $25, I'll mail it to you if you really want it. If I can help somebody out, I'll give it to you if you will read it. Don't waste my time if you're not going to read it. This is a seminary book, The Theology of Christian Perfection. And in this book, watch this. I'm sure it defines sublime contemplation. Watch this. Sublime contemplation. Probably under prayer, right? Yeah. So under prayer, check it out. It says effective prayer as a means of supernatural growth, contemplative prayer. Watch this. The highest grades of prayer, 479 to 491. Impetratory value of... Very good. Mental prayer. Okay, so... Listen, we don't spend enough time reading. If you're on Facebook and you spend more than 15, 20 minutes of a day on it, if you're the person always doing this, look at this one. She said this, he said that. Get off of it. It's garbage. It's wasting your time. We're all going to go before good works. You know, this devotion just caused me to realize I got to switch my my game here. I have to go to a Blessed Mother because I'm imperfect, and the book said Jesus does not. You have to be perfect to go to him, but Mary receives the imperfect, and so let's not be so proud that we can go right to him, you know. But we can talk to him, but we offer all of those requests. See, now I talk to both of them at the same time. Right over there, right there. See that? So Mary's right there. So I talk to her, I talk to both of them. And anyway. Okay. I'm going to start reading where I think I left off. I would wish, she continued, to be able to tell about the glory which he enjoys in order that God might be glorified by it. He has been elevated to this high degree of glory because he lived an interior life. Who could explain the value and advantages of the interior life? It is incomparably superior to the exterior life. While Aloysius was on earth, his eyes were always turned toward the divine word. He was a hidden martyr, because whoever knows thee, my God, whoever knows thee, my God, knows thee, to be so great and so amiable, to behold that he cannot love thee as much as he desires, and knows that so far from thy being loved by creatures, they even offend thee. He was a martyr because he endured voluntary suffering. Oh, how great was Aloysius' love for God on earth! This is why he enjoys God in heaven in a great plenitude of love. When he was on earth, he was constantly discharging arrows of love into the heart of the Word. Now that he is in heaven, these arrows return to his own heart and remain there because the acts of love and charity which he elicited that are now a cause of extreme joy. It is easy to recognize in this portrait a true and perfect love of the Sacred Heart of Jesus Christ. Those who wish to acquire true devotion to this divine heart and to obtain a tender love of Jesus Christ, the gift of an interior life and of the continual presence of God, should practice devotion to that great saint. He will soon make them feel the sweet effects of his intercession with Jesus and Mary, whom he loved so ardently and tenderly, and by whom he was so tenderly loved. That's it. I'm going to be devoted to him now. First thing I want to do is get a statue of him. Second thing I'm going to try to acquire is a relic of him. You know, you can't be like devoted to all the saints. I mean, you could call upon them during the day, all ye angels and saints, right? But how many can we be devoted to, right? Maybe one or two. And then the Blessed Mother, of course, she's the first. But he will soon make them feel the sweet. Okay, for this reason, the religious of the monastery of Agnes at Florence, besides practicing devotion to St. Aloysius Gonzaga, every day celebrate his feast most solemnly each year to obtain through his intercession interior recollection, continual union with God, ardent and tender love for Jesus Christ, and perfect devotion to his Sacred Heart. The following two miracles confirm what Father Croiset has said about devotion to St. Aloysius Gonzaga. The first occurred on February 3rd, 1765, a few days after Pope Clement XIII had confirmed the decree of the Congregation of Rites authorizing the public worship of the Sacred Heart of Jesus. A Jesuit novice named Nicholas Celestini was dying, his life having been despaired of by his physicians, when a picture of St. Aloysius Gonzaga was placed before him. St. Aloysius appeared to him and said, "The Lord grants you your life in order that you may apply yourself to the pursuit of perfect virtue, and that during your life you endeavor to propagate devotion to the Sacred Heart of Jesus, which is most pleasing in heaven." This miracle was declared to be authentic by the ecclesiastical authorities and contributed greatly to the spread of this devotion to the Sacred Heart. The second miracle occurred at Rome. An orphan of about 12 years of age, living in a house that had been founded by St. Ignatius, was suffering from epilepsy and was subject to such violent fits that he had to be held during them. This child had a great devotion to St. Aloysius Gonzaga and was accustomed to say a Pater, Ave, and Gloria every day in his honor. Now there's a way you can honor St. Aloysius Gonzaga, or any other saint. You could say, "Lord, I want to honor the virtues of St. Philomena, St. Aloysius Gonzaga," whoever. And I offer an Our Father, a Hail Mary, and a Glory Be, or 5 each. And that's a way to be devoted to them, you know? One day during one of his violent epileptic fits, St. Aloysius appeared to him, holding an image of Our Lady in his hand. The boy recognized St. Aloysius Gonzaga, called him by his name, and bowed his head in sign of respect. St. Aloysius said to him, "You will be cured, but on condition that you recite daily a Pater, Ave, and Gloria in honor of the Sacred Hearts of Jesus and Mary, and that you urge others to do the same." Now, anybody hearing this, you're going to start doing that for the rest of your life, are you not? I am. "And Our Father, a Hail Mary, and a Glory be, in honor of the Sacred Hearts of Jesus and Mary." The child promised to do so and was immediately cured. There you go. And that's going to end this this one. The sixth means is devotion to Saint Margaret Mary and Blessed Claude de la Colombière. And the seventh one is a day's retreat each month, and that will end part 2 of the book. It's awesome. Part 3 talks about the practice of this devotion, and then it has its own chapters. Chapter 1. I mean, this is a manual for the spiritual life. This is for us. This is for the lay people. This is for the priest. This is for everybody. This is the last devotion that's going to be given to mankind. And so, with all of that distraction and nonsense that went on, to me during the day, I have to get it under wraps. I wish I had a priest to speak to about how to handle those problems, you know. Because I can't have a decorator talking to me like I'm garbage. It's not that my pride is offended. I have to put her back in her place because it causes a lot of anxiety on the job. She can't feel free to like call you and harass you. I mean, I don't want to get petty. It was absurd, absolutely absurd. And I'm thinking, you know, this is life. This is the life. We got to deal with this stuff, you know. Wallpaper. We're talking about emergencies and wallpaper. I want to say, you know, you're lucky you can see, you can walk, that you don't have any physical deformities. You want to see problems, man? Wallpaper ain't problems. So anyway, that's all. You might be wondering, why am I talking about wallpaper? I hang wallpaper. That's what I do. And it's a good business. And most of the people I work for, they're great. You know? They're great. And they're very, you know, they're very easygoing. But when people don't have God in their lives, you're dealing with monsters. They're just monsters. Very condescending, very short-tempered. Everything a virtuous person has, they lack, you know. And I know it's part of the cross. I understand that. But it doesn't make it easier to deal with, you know. And you just think like, wow, this is not the way life is supposed to be, you know. So anyway, if you want this book, drop me an email. I'll send it to you. You could just respond. If you put a response in the comment section, it sends me an email. I get the email, and I'll send it out to you. You people take it easy. Thanks for listening. You know, it makes it easier for me to read these things. It makes it easier for me to do the spiritual readings. I mean, nobody joined me live, but that's all right. But you'll watch it. A lot of people do watch them.